It's fantasy football playoff time. I'm excited. It's basically week one, and it's all or nothing. You lose, you're done, because the consolation games do not matter where they place you. I don't care about 5th place. I don't care about 7th place.
No, you just want to care. You want your name on the trophy and the money in your pocket.
And this is the part where I think if you weren't paranoid at all, this is where you're paranoid.
Yeah.
Because this week there's a lot of tough matchups. You're looking at guys on hot streaks. You're looking at free agents right now, free agent players on the waiver wire who are playing on hot streaks. So that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today. We're going to recap the previous week, and then we're going to talk about potential waiver targets for you, and then, stream options, just kind of like quick detail and all that stuff. So we'll try not to keep it as long as we normally do at times.
Yeah, I'll start off with some news and notes from around the league. Marshawn Lattimore, we'll skip to the Thursday night football game. Lattimore, the number 1 corner for the New Orleans Saints. He practiced this on Monday, looking to be playing on Thursday. That makes a difference in but Atlanta's game plan. Mark Ingram didn't fully practice, but he did walkthroughs and conditioning and stretching. Has some kind of toe issue. I don't expect it to hold him out at all. And then moving on past that, Gronk. There's a lot of suspensions for just dirty play this week. So Gronk is suspended for a game for the late hit. Aloka is suspended for the hit on Antonio Brown. Juju got suspended for destroying Burfict's life.
I loved it.
Basically.
I'm sorry.
I liked the hit. I didn't like what he did afterwards. The more that they played it, the more it kind of pissed me off.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little shithead pretty much. I like cocky players. I'm all about when there's a bad guy in football. Of course, I wouldn't consider Juju Smith-Schuster a bad guy or, a football villain per se. It's just, he's a young kid. He got caught in the moment of the rivalry that is, basically the AFC North.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Antonio Brown after the game in a post-game interview when they were interviewing Juju about it, Antonio Brown's in the background screaming karma after the hit that he took last season.
Yeah.
Basically, the John Cena shoulder tackle to the head.
I mean, I understand it, but I don't know.
I mean, you can be on both sides.
It's just bad for the game. I'm just looking at it for, just bad for football. It's just bad football. Other than that, I mean, I get it. It's a rivalry game.
Honestly, I don't think it was truly intentional, though. I just think he just wanted to lay a good hit, though.
Yeah, I don't think
it's a small receiver. I don't think he meant linebacker.
He meant to hurt him, but he did ear hole him, and
he rocked.
It doesn't matter who you are. You get ear hole, boy. Ooh, change your life.
Yeah. Any other notes?
We got Texans receiver and Texans starting tight end for the last few weeks. Fedorowicz and Bruce Ellington, they're on IR. Tyrod Taylor doesn't look he's probably going to play because of a knee contusion. It's a patellar knee contusion. That's a pretty bad spot. I don't really expect him to play through it, but he did last week, so we'll see. If he is, he's not going to be at full speed. He's not going to be Tyrod Taylor scrambling for 25 yards when he's under pressure.
Well, Sean McDermott's getting what he wants again. That's Nathan Peterman.
The pick show's coming back.
The return.
Golly. Zach Ertz is concussed, still not through protocol, so look for Trey Burton if you need to. Cameron Brate. Those are just ads. Those aren't really notes.
Yeah, Brate's back, basically.
Brate's back because
the return of Jameis helped Brate out.
Aaron Rodgers practiced on Saturday. Lightly. He didn't take part in a team. He took part in individuals inside in a little bit of rehab. So keep an eye on Aaron Rodgers. I've heard there's been lots of reports saying Packers are really giddy. Packers are getting energy, and they're, really looking forward to having him back. Apparently, he looks really good in practice. Jimmy Smith, number 1 cornerback for the Baltimore Ravens, tore his Achilles. He will be out rest of the season. That puts, in my opinion, a pretty big dent on their pass defense. Joe Mixon for the Bengals, out with a concussion. Look for Bernard on the waiver wires. He's going to get tons of carries this week. Jordan Reed, lo and behold, did not practice Monday. Probably won't play again. Keep an eye out for Robert Woods, Chris Hogan, their injury update status. Amari Cooper has an ankle injury and is still in concussion protocol, so it's looking kind of foggy for Amari Cooper. Keep an eye on him as the week progresses. Amir Abdullah still has his neck injury, and he did not practice on Monday, so not looking good. There's a lot of neck injury between him and Adrian Peterson.
Shazier.
The Shazier, from last night or Monday night, it was just not pretty. All these neck things. It's just not good football. It's not good football lately. And then Greg Olsen did not practice, at least with the team on Monday. Not exactly sure if he's going to play or not. Got that aggravated foot injury, so we'll see.
All right, so let's is that all the news and notes?
That's all I got.
All right, we'll come on and touch on players that are on the waiver wire. You know, it's playoff time. You're basically wanting to look for. I mean, there's probably players on your own roster that's been disappointing. Julio Jones this past weekend for a lot of people. Kareem Hunt, if you're still rolling with him, I benched him this past week, and I was okay with that decision. Other players that, Drew Brees, hasn't been playing well just because they've been going more towards the running back game. So, to recap like last week, we already talked about Thursday Night Football on Friday's episode, but, Vikings kept the Falcons in check.
Yeah.
It wasn't the best of game, but the Vikings are the real deal pretty much, I would say.
Their defense shows up home and away. Doesn't matter where.
Right. And then the Chiefs, they switch offensive. They switch Andy Reid, let's go play calling abilities. They switch it to their offensive coordinator. The Chiefs looked good in the first half of the game in terms of passing the ball. Alex Smith had the game of his year, his best game so far this season. And, Travis Kelce was good.
That's because Travis Kelce had a great game.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill, but Kareem Hunt still gets left, as an afterthought in that offense for some reason, and I think that's one of the reasons they lost. They just didn't keep it going with them, and then the Jets come back. Josh McCown, keep on that train if you gain on it. 300 yards, pass touchdown, 2 rush touchdowns.
He's so hard to trust, but he gets it done every week. It's unbelievable.
He has built that chemistry with those 2 receivers, Robbie Anderson and Jermaine Kearse. Both guys look good. Kearse had like 97 yards. Robbie Anderson had over 100 yards receiving.
Well, lucky for him, he had a couple, goal line sneaks that he just kind of got in because those backs let him down. So that helped out his fantasy value a ton.
And then Dolphins demolished the Broncos 35-9.
Oh, yeah.
And Kenyon Drake played a great game, had over 100 yards rushing, I think about 120. Broncos, that offense, Trevor Siemian looked like he was throwing the football blindfolded.
It doesn't matter how great your defense is when your offense is that bad. That's ridiculous.
So basically, a lot of people still kind of freak out about the matchup against Broncos.
There's no freaking out.
You shouldn't freak out anymore at this point. They haven't played good at all in the last 2 months.
And even with, like this week, you're getting Talib back. If you're thinking that makes a difference, I don't really think that makes a big difference.
No, it's something I wouldn't even, something I'm not really worried about.
No.
I do got, let's see. Yeah. And then like another matchup too that I'm not, I think I could be all right with. It's a good test though for them is you got Jaguars playing Seattle this coming week.
Right.
The playoff this week 14, there's a lot of tough matchups for people.
There's
if you got guys on the, the
middle
of the ball you don't like.
It seems like it's a lot of middle of the pack matchups that you're like, could end up being a bad matchup. I don't know. There's not a lot of optimism this week, as far as I'm concerned.
Right, and and like another thing too, like if you get Ravens had a fun day against the Lions, but Theoretic stepped up in the role against stepping up for Amir Abdullah, and he had the touchdown, and then Tion Green, the other running back for the Lions, 50 yards touchdown.
Yeah.
But Alex Collins had a big day. He had the 2 touchdowns, but he was playing with a migraine, is what the report that came out today. So he's been suffering from some migraine issues. And for him to, that's something maybe to monitor throughout the week too, how his issue turns out to be.
Yeah.
But if he played through it, then he had a great game for that. Packers get their win. They beat the Buccaneers in overtime.
I was pumped watching that game. We needed it so much.
I can imagine. So Cameron Brate had a great day with the return of Jameis Winston.
That's true. He's probably he could be sitting on your waiver wire. Some people might have said.
A lot of people probably did cut him after the last
done.
month with Fitzpatrick because he did not exist with Fitzpatrick.
Yeah. So go check.
So, yeah, I mean, Cameron Brate's a target to look at. So we're going to kind of like intertwine these waiver guys with the matchups from last week.
Yeah.
Jamal Williams for the Packers had another great day for the Packers.
He had another great day, and then Aaron Jones came in and just
sealed the deal for you.
Sealed the deal.
20-yard.
That was lovely.
The 1 carry, 20-yard rushing touchdown to win the game.
Walk-off touchdown.
I mean, Aaron Jones is another guy to look at because I feel like they're going to use a tandem at running backs there, but Jamal Williams, I think, until he loses the hot hand, he's going to keep the bulk of the carries.
Yeah, I think he just keep feeding Jamal Williams. He's looked fantastic. Both of those backs have looked really good, and when they have the full-time row. But Jamal Williams got it right now, and he's rolling with it. So you keep it up, I think.
Yeah,
sprinkle in a little Jones, here and there when it needs to be spelled.
Right.
That's about it.
Patriots beat the Bills 23-3. Rex Burkhead was the star of that game. Tom Brady did not have the best of game at all.
That offense is almost starting to turn into the
Saints.
The Saints offense.
They're relying on the running backs, which I'm fine with because I was smart enough to pick up Burkhead a couple of weeks ago. And stash him until to see how he plays. And now that I know that Rex Burkhead for the last I believe month he's been the number 8 running back is what he's been in terms of scoring.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So that's something that consider. I have him in my starting lineup this week. He's in my flex spot.
I would too.
Yeah. So I mean he's got a great matchup. It's Monday Night Football against the Miami Dolphins, and so I think the Patriots are going to be relying on that run game too.
Yeah. And especially with Gronk, and if they still have Chris Hogan out, that's 2 big weapons. I mean, they're kind of used to getting Hogan out, but Gronk was involved a lot during the Bills game. He had 2 touchdowns. So
yeah, and I don't think that means they're going to rely heavily on Martellus Bennett. Is he
Bennett's
playing?
On IR. They got Dwayne Allen.
That's right,
now.
Dwayne Allen.
Could be a red zone target, but I don't see them.
No.
Typically, when Gronk goes down, he hasn't even had a catch in the games that Gronk has
basically
played.
This means more stuff for the running backs. I feel like too.
Yeah, I feel like I agree.
Amendola's targets go up yet again.
And it pains me to say
Brandon Cooks'
targets go up.
Yeah, well, I know you don't want that because you're playing against Brandon Cooks this week. And then also Philip Dorsett, gets a little boost as well too. But I think the Patriots are going to rely on the running backs, and that's what they have been doing the last handful of weeks.
I think so.
Jimmy Garoppolo gets his first win as a 49er. They beat the Bears 15-14. It wasn't the best of game, but yet again, Marquise Goodwin was the top target machine for the 49ers. So that's something you can consider. Marquise, if you're on have bad matchups with your receivers, you don't like what you see. Marquise Goodwin has just been getting the ball thrown to him regardless.
Yeah, he's getting the volume.
He's getting the volume there.
That's what you want.
Yeah, so that's something you want to look for. I think he's he has wide receiver 2 upside. Great flex play for you this week.
Yeah.
Chargers just get by the Browns. And I always say the Browns. I thought the Browns were going to win it.
The Chargers always seem to make it a close game with the Browns.
Always. It's like it's their curse just to make the Browns look good because they feel bad for them.
I don't hear. I knock on wood because Packers are playing the Browns this week.
But Phillip Rivers, old Phil, looked all right. He had the 1 touchdown, but he still looked pretty good in the game.
He had 350 yards.
Keenan Allen has been the star player for the Chargers the last month.
He had 10 for 105 and a touchdown.
Yeah.
PPR, you're happy.
Yeah, and the running backs have been kind of dwindling out a little bit in that offense.
Melvin Gordon went 19 for 77. Eckler went 4 for 19. Neither one of them really had enough catches to really change the game. And I had Melvin Gordon thinking this was going to be a really good matchup for me, and
the Browns ain't that bad against the run.
No, they're a pretty good run defense, but I just figured
their defense is underrated.
The way Phillip Rivers has been hot, I thought they'd get up. They gain a big lead and then just pound the clock out. But
Josh Gordon, he got the volume. He had 84 yards,
4 catches off 12 targets for 85 yards.
85 yards.
Yep.
So
longest play was 39.
If he is on the waiver wire,
goodness
pick
gracious.
this man up because that just shows that they're going to throw to this man in that offense regardless who's quarterback.
As soon as the game started, they threw that first slant pass to him for a first down. I was like,
Yeah, and it didn't stop from there. They just kept looking at him the whole way. Yeah. Coleman didn't do nothing that game.
No.
Zilch.
Actually, he had 3
he had
for
target.
60.
Did he? I thought he didn't catch anything.
No, he had he had a few.
Did he?
Yeah. He didn't do enough to really be relevant, but he did a little bit.
Okay, yeah, he had the 64 yards.
Okay, that's what it was. And I mean,
no, he didn't have nothing. No, he had nothing. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong week. He had nothing last week.
He had nothing.
No points. Yeah, he had 4 targets, no yards, no catches,
no
or
yards,
anything.
No catches.
It was the Josh Gordon show, and David Njoku,
he had
tight end.
Touchdown,
yeah, he was the one. Duke Johnson's just dwindled out in that offense as well. He's not a factor as much as he was earlier in the season.
All his targets
now that Gordon
got moved north.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much to Josh Gordon, I would say. Kaiser didn't look bad. Deshaun Kaiser played all right.
They just looked like they hadn't really had a lot of time to play together. Both Kaiser and Gordon said their top priority in practice this week is to spend every minute in meetings and practice and extra time over just kind of. Basically, Kaiser said, I want to know where he wants the ball on every play.
Right. Kaiser,
so he can put it there for him.
Kaiser's only issue is that he's a turnover machine. Yeah. Kaiser, but he had just 1 interception and 1 fumble that he lost.
Right.
So he was 215, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 46 rush yards, and the fumble. He's not a bad fantasy stream option. It just depends on the matchup.
Yeah.
Green Bay, allows the 14th least or most points to quarterbacks, so that's basically middle of the road.
Yeah.
It's not bad, it's not the best, but I mean, I think what makes the difference and helps boost Kaiser's value a little bit is just Josh Gordon. I think, Josh Gordon looked like he hasn't even lost a step. I think he just knocked a little rust off him. Yeah. I expect Kaiser not to knock on y'all. That's why I'm kind of worried about Green Bay Packers, as people are saying they're a top streaming defense for this week just because they're playing the Browns.
I'm not sure.
No, I'm not a fan of that just because Josh Gordon's that much of a difference.
If they are, it's because there's not many defenses out there to stream. Because
no, it's not.
We are the number 3 worst team against wide receivers. Wide receivers have just burnt us, especially big physical receivers, like Josh Gordon is, like Julio Jones, like the Dez Bryants, like those Alshon Jeffries, big body, fast, can take over a game. They take over the game against Green Bay secondary, unfortunately. So it kind of scares me going up against Josh Gordon this week. I'm not going to lie. Our offense, the Browns' defense has been good enough to keep them in games. They've just kind of found a way to lose some games. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of. We really need this one, and actually, I have Josh Gordon on my starting lineup in my money league.
Is he in your flex?
He's my flex play.
So he's in your flex play.
Yep. I have Julio Hopkins, and then I have him in the flex.
Mm.
So
who's your running backs? Is it are you starting?
Melvin and
Kamara.
Kamara, yeah.
So you're not playing Morris?
No.
Just not feeling it yet?
No.
All right. So
Josh
next
Gordon's
game.
Got too much potential.
Let's go on and jump to the next game real quick because we'll talk forever about one player and stuff like that we love. Giants Raiders.
Sure.
The game that got Ben McAdoo
fired. He deserved it. Who was it? Victor Cruz came out and said, "This is 3 weeks too late."
It was a long time. He said it was a long time coming.
Long time coming.
Geno Smith starts the game, 212 yards, 1 touchdown, and he also had 13 yards rushing. It wasn't the best of days for him, and he had 2 fumbles he lost too.
As a coach, do you not look back on this? Like after the season, you get fired, you go clean your office out, you move, you go home with your family, you take some time away from football. Is there a point where he just stops and thinks about what the hell did I do to this team? He destroyed this team.
I feel like he would have. I don't think there's anything I can justify that could have saved his job.
No,
I think that was the icing on the cake for it. Was just benching Eli.
I think soon as he benched Eli,
was
done.
Eli was the best option, no matter how bad this team was playing. Eli gave the team the best chance to win. It's like the running game's terrible there. Darkwa, 14 carries, 32 yards, and a touchdown. Not a bad fantasy day in terms of flex value, but it's still not. If you're looking at it on paper, that's not great.
No.
But Evan Ingram now, this is what makes Evan Ingram owners happy. He finally showed up after a couple weeks. He had 7 receptions, 99 yards, and a touchdown. He's showed up again.
Yeah.
Sterling Shepard still got
Eli
looked
back
at.
too. That's
this helps out too. But Eli, basically, even with this Geno Smith game, the offense in terms of passing, it's going to go through Evan Ingram and Sterling Shepard.
Yeah,
and if Sterling Shepard's somehow in the waiver wire spot, I would stash him.
Yeah,
he's
just for a good matchup.
Yeah, he's going to get the volume and the targets along with Ingram. Both those guys are just going to get everything. Marshawn Lynch had a great day. He had, he broke 100 yards, had a touchdown, 51-yard touchdown.
Yeah, that big 50-yard touchdown run he had really helped him out.
20 yards receiving, So he looked great. Marshawn Lynch is actually getting in the groove of things.
And he's getting the ball more, too, which is good for him.
Yeah, and I mean,
when he stays productive.
Derek Carr, didn't look bad either. 287, 1 touchdown.
Yeah, and that's without Cooper and Crabtree.
Oh, and I think we talked about it, too, on the last episode was who would be the top receiver. Cordarrelle Patterson was the top receiver, 4 catches, 97 yards, no touchdown. They went to Holton.
Yeah, Jared Cook was my start of the week. Boy, did he
gets hurt.
Boy, did he let owners down.
Yeah, gets hurt, and then that's when Walford comes in there. Clive Walford comes in there and was the second leading receiver for the Raiders. 4 catches, 57 yards. So I mean, that's stuff you can't expect.
Yeah.
If Cook wouldn't have got hurt, you can expect probably that same around range for.
But that's just the kind of season it's been. You get a good
especially
matchup.
For tight ends.
You get a player hurt, or you get somebody in a perfect matchup, and they let you down.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just been. This has been a really hard year too.
Well, like we were talking before. Well, it was like when we were talking before we went on air. This is really. It's not really been a hot hand year. Right. It's been a matchup year.
Yeah, typically by this time of the year, I know who my starting lineup is going to be because they're all playing. Hot football. They're all consistently doing something.
But
or if not,
now it's the point. It's normally like a handful of guys on your roster.
Yeah.
At this point,
and then you ride the hot hand.
You might have 2 guys on your roster at this point that that you're not going to. Like for me, it's Antonio Brown.
Right.
He's always going to be in my starting lineup regardless of the matchup. Because no matter how bad Big Ben plays, Antonio Brown can still have a great game.
Yeah.
Like Big Ben didn't have the best of game last night for Monday Night Football, but Antonio Brown had, even on a hurt toe, he had the 15 targets, 101 yards, touchdown. So, I mean, it was something I wanted to have. You want to keep rolling, and Brown's going to keep rolling at this point in the season too.
Yeah.
So once Brown gets in the zone and Big Ben's starting to get his back into a groove, it's that part of the season where okay, we got to get a good run going into the playoffs.
Yeah,
that's what Pittsburgh doing. So all right, instead of talking about that game, though, let's move on real quick to Panthers Saints. Saints win 31-21. Drew Brees still kind of quiet. I mean, Drew Brees is just kind of taking a backseat in this offense in terms of being like the top guy. Basically, it's the Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara show.
Yep, continues.
And it's crazy. And it was, watching the game, there was one series that they had where Ingram had the big 72-yard run, and he gets tackled. Then Kamara comes in next play, gets the 9 yards, and then the next play, Ingram comes in and gets that touchdown.
It's just
on a drive. It's just back and forth. They don't say, okay, you play 2 down. It's just the thing is though, both these guys can run, both these guys can catch. That's what makes the Saints offense dangerous because you don't know what's going to happen.
And I love watching the offense because, Ingram is good, don't get me wrong, but Kamara is electrifying.
Right. And
he's so fun to watch.
I feel like Ingram's barely at this point because, he was good in college and he had all this hype coming out when he got drafted, but he had injuries that kind of stalled his career for the first few years.
Right.
But I think he's just scratching the surface on his prime right now, Mark Ingram.
Yeah.
Because Mark Ingram just like he's not even banged up that bad. He looks like he runs like a bruiser, but he's not.
He doesn't get a ton of carries either.
No,
and
this
week to week he doesn't.
I think this is what if you want to pretty much have a blueprint for having a 2-headed monster at running back. I think this is what the Titans wish they had.
Right.
Because they want DeMarco Murray to have that Ingram role, and then Derrick Henry to come in and just be this maybe the spell back or something like that. Just come in, but basically, to kind of jump ahead to Tennessee, Derrick Henry's kind of taking over that top role and having the more productive on less carries.
And it was interesting seeing we talked about that top rushing offense against the top rushing defense, and obviously we know who took advantage of that. Saints dominated the game. Cam Newton tried to put the game on his back and go get it, but he needs help. Yeah, when they take away Funchess, he has nowhere else to go.
He did have a decent game too. Cam Newton finished with less than 200 yards though. 183, 2 touchdowns.
Passing.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns, and then he had the 51. He was the leading rusher on the team with 51 yards, which has just become accustomed the last few weeks as well. Jonathan Stewart was the leading guy in carries, 11 rushes for 45 yards and 1 touchdown, and then Christian McCaffrey is not really much of the runner for that offense. He's more of the guy on the pass catching down. So he had 6 carries, 16 yards, that's it. But he had 5 catches for 33 yards and a touchdown, one of those being a 21-yard touchdown. Funchess was quiet throughout most of the game until the second half when they were playing catch-up. But he only had 4 catches, 60 yards, and a 24-yard touchdown, which for me, that helped me out in my flex spot. and just to help me secure my win come Sunday. And I still had Brown playing Monday, so I was good with that. I just want to see Funches be productive in this offense.
Yeah, well, he's the only target really, so he's.
I mean, yeah,
really, he's got to be. He's got to be.
He has to be, yeah. And then for me, also on the other side of the ball, Michael Thomas. I had Michael Thomas. He had 5 catches, 70 yards, and a touchdown. So I think he's one of those guys you can rely. You have to know that you can. I hope he gets the targets and the volume and stuff like that, but you have to rely on him just getting yards because he's not going to get a touchdown every week. That's because everything goes towards Kamara and Ingram.
Yeah, I actually set him in one of my leagues that I have him in, and of course, as soon as I set him down, he goes off and has a touchdown. But
we'll set him again. He's
just been mediocre.
Set him again this week. All right, next game. This is one I liked. It's one I want to. I wish I could throw a party for, but I can't because I had to work the next day. The Rams get their 9th win of the season. This is the first time the Rams have had a winning season since 2004. Last week I was hyped just because we got 8 wins. It was the first time saying that we haven't had a losing season since 2006. And now we're back to the 2004 mark when we went to the playoffs. And right now the Rams are looking good. Jared Goff's playing well. That offense is looking great under Sean McVay's leadership.
Yep.
Sammy Watkins had a touchdown in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Cooper Kupp looked good. Tight end Gerald Everett got a touchdown on a little quick slant route too, which was great. To watch Goff just pinpoint that in there too. Goff looks great. There was a lot of controversy happening the last couple weeks with McVay talking in Goff's headset.
Yeah.
There's stories about that, but they shut the coaches off at 15 seconds. I think McVay has just helped Goff improve mentally.
Yeah.
For Goff to prepare, because Goff looks great out there when he's changing, doing audibles and all that stuff too. Because that's all on him once it's after 15 seconds on the play clock. So, Adrian Peterson didn't play. Kerwin Williams stepped up, 16 carries, 97 yards. He didn't look bad at all. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's a potential waiver wire pickup.
Yeah.
Because,
Adrian
Peterson's
running backs are hard to find. Running backs are hard to find at this point in the season.
Yeah, and so, you got to look for stuff like that. Todd Gurley didn't reach the end zone, but he was the leading receiver for the Rams, though. He had 19 carries for 74 yards, and then he had 6 catches for 84 yards.
Oh, yeah.
So that's good, but he didn't have a touchdown, but didn't need it. Goff, conservative Goff, that's what I've been calling him because he plays smart football. 220, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and then the touchdown to Sammy Watkins and the touchdown to Gerald Everett. On the Cardinal side of the ball, Larry Fitzgerald once again, target machine, catch machine.
When he's at home,
he's great. You got to if you have Larry Fitzgerald playing at home, you're going to want to start the guy. And I believe they're at home. They're at home this week against the Titans, another great matchup. So make sure Larry Fitzgerald's in your lineup. Blaine Gabbert is playing good in this offense. I mean, he didn't have the best statistical line this week, but he had 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, but 221. It's just the Rams' defense is just clicking.
Yeah, I seen there was one that I remember on the highlight reel, him just kind of laying one out in front of, I think, trying to hit Tavon, or maybe it might have been Sammy down the field, and it's a unthrown 10 yards.
Yeah,
it safety picks it up and returns it.
Yeah, I mean,
but
but the thing is, I was saying though, with certain players, you don't have to worry about their quarterback playing good for your player to be productive. Example: Larry Fitzgerald, 98 yards and a touchdown on 10 catches. If that's PPR, you have a great day right there.
Yeah.
Standard league, that's still a great day in standard leagues. So I mean, you could if you need a quarterback, if you have a scary quarterback matchup this week, if you're one of those people that rolls with one quarterback. Or you're just one of those paranoid people that just debacled your lineup and still somehow made the playoffs. Blaine Gabbert could be a good streaming option this week. Me, personally, I wouldn't rate him as my top streaming option. Josh McCown would be my top streaming option this week.
Yeah, if he's there.
I mean, he should be. For some reason, people are just scared to pick him up. Example, our league. I want to pick him up, but I don't want to pick him up. Because if he can have a bad day. On to the next game real quick. I'll just talk about a few more. Sunday Night Football, Eagles, Seahawks. Eagles finally got brought back down to earth. They're in their tough stretch of games right now, so they're finally playing teams.
I was a little surprised to see Russell Wilson have that much success just because of they have 8 or 9 starting defensive linemen that can rush the passer that would start on any team in the NFL, rushing the passer. So to see Russell Wilson just kind of wore him out and made him pay. Every single play he was going backwards, he was dipping and dabbing in the pocket, making magic like Russell Wilson does. And then I was watching the game, and man, if he didn't complete a pass down the field for a first down or just to keep the chains moving or to put them in, decent situation, and he just escapes the rush right when they think they have him, and I think that just mentally just wears on the defense.
Yeah.
And it just, after a long point in the game, he could go back there and scramble and run around for, 30 yards back and forth and through the pocket and around, and he's got these big guys chasing him, and then it could end up being just a play where he throws the ball away. I've seen him do that plenty of times on first and second down and then go in and convert on third down.
It was fun to watch him play. I'm not a Seahawks fan by any means, but Russell Wilson is that offense right now. Speaking of that offense, also, I think they finally figured out who their running back is, Mike Davis.
Mike Davis looks
for
legit.
now. Yeah, he looks legit for now. And and then another thing to talk about real quick too is if you're not in the playoffs right now, if you didn't make your league's playoffs, if you're one of those, if you're in a league that plays year in year out.
Yeah.
And you didn't make the playoffs this year, still watch the football game as you would if you were playing in fantasy right now. Because right now, this is the point where guys like Mike Davis, for example, is, you want to see how he plays because, right now Seattle could be just, seeing how he plays for next year.
Yeah.
Does that mean they're going to use him as their running back? I don't know. But, he could be their starting running back next year, too. That's something you want to look at.
Yeah.
It's like with Thomas Rawls a couple years ago, too, when he came in for Marshawn Lynch.
Right.
And then he didn't play as spectacular, in there because injuries came in and got Rawls. This is the time, you're a lot of teams that aren't playoff eligible in the NFL are playing random players to see how their team is looking for next year already.
Yeah, and that could very well be a Chris Carson, Mike, and McKissick backfield next year.
Yeah, you never know. I don't see Eddie Lacy being there next year.
No, I don't see him or Ross coming back after the way they kind of finished.
On the other side of the ball, too, in terms of rushing for the Eagles, none of the Eagles looked good in terms of rushing the ball. Jay Ajayi, 9 carries for 35 yards. Carson Wentz, 6 for 30. LeGarrette Blount, 8 for 26. And then Corey Clement for 3 and 7 yards. But Nelson Aguilar returned to fantasy football prominence.
Yeah, we kind of had a feeling. We were talking about that last week of Seattle's death just not being able to cover that slot very well, and it showed. Yeah,
it showed with Aguilar having a big day, 7 catches, 141 yards, one touchdown. He had the big 51-yard catch, which was just a ridiculous play itself.
Yeah.
Alshon Jeffrey still didn't look bad. He just got the contract extension, but 4 catches, 61 yards. I think him and Wentz got something going on.
Yeah, he was kind of their move the chains guy. So.
Yeah, and then Zach Ertz gets injured with a concussion. Trey Burton comes in, 4 catches, 42 yards. That's something to watch out for, like the rest of this week. So you won't really know the Wentz or the Ertz news until the end of the week when it gets close to game time. Suggestion would be to go in and pick up Trey Burton if you don't have, if no one else does. If you see him out there, just go in and stash him. If Ertz is your other tight end, just drop a scrub player on your bench.
Yeah,
you have a scrub player on your bench you're willing to get rid of.
If Ertz is your starting tight end, then you almost have to go pick up Trey Burton in hopes that you don't give up that kind of volume and that kind of production and then that kind of offense. So,
yeah,
definitely.
All right, and then the Monday night.
If Ertz isn't your tight end and you don't like your matchup this week and you have a nice bench stash, you might go just slide Trey Burton out from underneath someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe your opponent has Ertz.
Yeah, you just go in and you be that guy. You want to rip the carpet out from your opponent. It's all or nothing at this point.
Right.
You win, you keep going, you lose, you're done. And this is the part where everything gets more stressful. So Monday Night Football, the Steelers come back and beat the Bengals. They were down 17 points.
That game was just much watch and could not look away, and it was just brutal.
It was an AFC North football game.
It was brutal.
This was a fun week for football. I know we were talking about it last week because of the matchups. And, it was a pretty good week. It was a more brutal week. There's how teams it was more rough. It was more old school football.
The games I wanted to see turned out great. I wanted to see the Green Bay game. It's an overtime win. I wanted to see Carolina and New Orleans battle it out, and that Monday night game just kind of put the
it was icing on the cake right there. Ben Roethlisberger, 290, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Yeah. Le'Veon Bell was Mr. All-Purpose.
You can just see Big Ben as the game goes on. He starts out, throws an interception on the first drive. Amazing diving interception by Adam Jones. He ends up hurting his hand or his ribs, or ends up exiting the game. But as the game goes on, you can just see Big Ben figuring things out, and it's just like as the game comes down to the line. In that fourth quarter, he was in complete control.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, Le'Veon Bell, 76 rush yards, 106 receiving yards, 1 touchdown for receiving. It was a 35-yard. That was a crazy play.
Yeah.
Like everyone just kind of stopped because the Bengals thought he stepped out of bounds.
Well, the corner Jackson, I don't understand why he pulled up on Bell. I think that was something. I think he was making a business decision there, but
great footwork by Bell though to stay in bounds.
He was thinking the guy that was in pursuit was going to push him out of bounds, and that didn't happen. And Bell just kind of snuck on down the sideline.
I think this
crazy.
And plus I feel like there was a lot of stuff going on in this game in terms of like playoff implications for fantasy owners.
Yeah.
So you wanted to have a big game out of maybe like one guy wrote us on Twitter and said he needed 24 points out of Antonio Brown. Obviously. If you play PPR, then he got those 24 points. But if you play standard, he didn't get those 24 points unless you got some ridiculous bonus stuff.
Yeah.
In our league, even with the bonus, he just finished with the 20 points. So
AJ Green had a big day.
He did 7 catches, 77 yards, 2 touchdowns. He should have had a third.
Should have had a third one.
I think that's another thing that costs people maybe undefeated seasons or playoffs. You needed that.
Very well.
That last touchdown, needed. You needed that to get into the playoffs.
Big one.
Yeah, very big one, and it gets called back. Andy Dalton didn't look bad.
No, he actually looked really well.
2 touchdowns.
On the Pittsburgh defense.
Joe Mixon gets hurt, so I think that hurt a lot of people too as well. If Joe Mixon was something you were relying on, gets the concussion. Giovanni Bernard comes in, gets the 13 carries for 77 yards, and that's someone else to look at on the waiver wire just in case.
Yeah, go get Bernard for sure. If Mixon is out, go get Bernard because he's a weapon.
Yeah. Brandon LaFell, 4 catches, 55 yards. Tyler Kroft, tight end, 2 catches, 30 yards, and he just kind of disappeared after those 2 catches. I think those were first half catches.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a Shazier is kind of a take you away, take you out of the game.
That was a nasty hit too. But so that's all the games for week 13, a fun week. So now kind of like going a little more in depth quickly on waiver wire players, just kind of potential guys and stuff like that. Because this is where you want to look at guys going into hot streaks or something like that.
Right.
Like right now, Mike Davis. If you're kind of needing a stash at running back, Mike Davis has got to get for Seattle.
Yeah, that would be my number. Well,
look, here's the thing. I know
for matchups going season, for matchups down the line, he's probably the guy you want long term. But for this week, my favorite guy out of that whole group is probably Giovanni Bernard.
Yeah,
because he's been there and done it before and been very successful.
Been there, done that.
And he's getting all. He can get all the pass catching volume too.
Right. I mean, Mike Davis has Seattle's got a tough game this week against Jacksonville. Then they got a good game for the Rams because the Rams are not the best against the run.
Jacksonville's not.
That still doesn't stop. No, Jacksonville's not. They're not the best, but they're not the worst.
Yeah.
They allow the 21st least amount of points to running backs. And then they got Dallas Week 16. So, and I feel like a lot of those games are going to be more on the shoulders of Russell Wilson than Mike Davis. So I wouldn't have him ranked as my number 1 guy, but he's an RB1 and he's going to get that volume as an RB1.
And I was kind of surprised by the amount of passes that he caught too, and he was involved in the passing game. So that's also a big plus. That's what I like most about him. Yeah, that he ain't coming off the field all the time.
And the running back that would be number 1 for me, for waiver wire, would be Peyton Barber of Tampa Bay playing against Detroit this week. They got a great little stretch coming up. The Buccaneers do, but the thing is, you got to look out for Doug Martin coming back.
Right.
They got Detroit this week, who allows now the 4th most points to running backs.
Yeah.
Then you got Atlanta next week, which will allow the 18th most points to running backs, and then you got a tough championship week against Carolina for 28, who allowed the 28th most points to running back, which is not a lot. So the 4th least amount.
Good unit.
So Peyton Barber's a good guy to help get you to the championship if Doug Martin's not playing. And honestly, I would hope that Doug.
I'd
Martin
rather have
playing.
him than Doug Martin.
Exactly. I mean, he's younger. He looked more better as a runner.
Looked explosive, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so a couple other running backs to look at too. Matt Forte. Matt Forte didn't play bad this past week.
That's just a hard situation because all those guys are getting carries.
Right, that's the thing. You got to deal with Bilal Powell,
the carriers,
and then Elijah McGuire.
Yeah.
So I mean, you just never know who's going to be the top productive guy in that offense, except unless you got Robbie Anderson, because Robbie Anderson's just going to get everything
for sure.
And so I mean, it's just crazy how that Jet offense is working out right now.
You know what I need? I need ASJ Austin Jenkins. I need him to well, really it ain't about him. He's doing all the things right. He's going out and getting the targets, making the catches, and catching these touchdowns. I'm going to need everybody else on the field to stop getting his touchdowns called back on stupid penalties. That's all I'm going to need to do. That's all.
So, I mean, yeah, it happens. So basically, like, in my opinion, guys to look at on the waiver wire, quarterback-wise, maybe you can look at Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy G.
Possibly. Jimmy G might be a good guy to look at. I mean, he's the starter, and he's actually a decent quarterback, which helps, which links to Marquise Goodwin, like we mentioned earlier, who does get the volume, does get the targets, and does get a decent amount of catches.
I think Blaine Gabbert's a great matchup playing at home versus Tennessee. They have a poor pass defense for quarterbacks.
That's a good streaming option this week,
too. It is, yeah. Because
Blaine Gabbert hasn't been playing bad in his offense either.
No.
Marquise Goodwin, though, he's been here's his last, I'm going to say his last 6 games that he's played. No, was that 5 games? Last 5 games that he's played in. So I'm going to go back to week 7. He had 80 yards, so that's 8 points right there. Then he missed week 8. Week 9, he had 68 yards. Not bad. That was against Arizona. Week 10 against the Giants, 18 rush yards, 83 receiving yards, and then 1 touchdown. Okay. Seattle, 78 yards 2 weeks ago, and then this past week against Chicago, 99 yards. So he's someone to look at. For the last month, he's putting up good flex points. If you're needing a good flex receiver, Marquise Goodwin's been that guy.
Yeah. And one quarterback, I can't believe I'm going to talk about him as maybe a stream option this week.
Blake Bortles.
Tom Savage.
Oh, Tom Savage.
Tom Savage put up 365 yards against the Titans in Tennessee in a division game. Throws a touchdown. Scores 22.5 points. This week he's at home. He's playing San Francisco. He has the best receiver in his in the league right now, in my opinion, on his team. And San Francisco allows the highest point total to quarterbacks this season.
Yeah.
I mean, the matchup's there. He's at home.
He still has DeAndre Hopkins.
He has good receivers.
Andre Ellington picked up slack in the slot.
It's Tom Savage, so he's probably also going to throw a pick and fumble.
A couple, I'd say.
But there's also a possibility he puts up 300 yards and 2 touchdowns.
True.
And with the matchups this week, he could be somebody you're looking at.
Right.
Just saying. I know that he's out there on the waiver wire.
Yeah. Another quarterback to look at is a deep league stream option, in my opinion, is Deshaun Kaiser against the Packers this week. He has Josh Gordon back, Corey Coleman.
Coleman is back.
I think Josh Gordon is the big difference right there. A couple other running backs I'm going to bring up too. Kerwin Williams for Arizona, like we already mentioned.
Yeah, starting running back.
Yeah, starting running back, and then Theo Riddick, another starting running back now with Amir Abdullah out.
Right.
Theo Riddick did have the touchdown in the game, so he's someone to look at. Potential stash guys too for bench spots. Aaron Jones for the Packers. You never know with that backfield. Every guy's got taking their turns of getting hurt.
Right.
Marlon Mack, Austin Eckler. Because Melvin Gordon's not playing at his best. He's still getting the volume, but he's not playing like how an RB1 would at the basically like how he did at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Another guy. Now I'm going to jump to receivers. I'm going to try to jump through this a little quick.
Sure.
It's already mentioned Marquise Goodwin.
Mm-hmm.
Corey Coleman is out there still in a lot of leagues.
Yeah.
Someone to look at. I mean, he was goose egged last week, but
didn't have the targets. But I mean, at some point these teams are going to say, "Oh snap, we got to double team Josh Gordon," and
I think they will starting next week too. Which
Corey
is
Coleman
going to Corey. I think there's going to be a bump for Corey Coleman next week.
Yeah.
Jermaine Kearse for the Jets. Robbie Anderson should already be owned.
Marquise
I don't need to beat that against anybody. Said if Robbie Anderson's available in the league, you better pick him up.
Yeah.
Jermaine Kearse, he did have the 90 yards receiving. 90-plus yards receiving. Mike Wallace has been the top option for the Ravens right now.
Yeah, and he's been catching some big balls.
Yeah.
My star of the week, Dontrell Inman for the Bears. He had 2 for 21 and a touchdown. He's kind of their guy, really.
He's putting up them Josh Doxson numbers.
Yeah, but I mean, he's the guy they're looking for in the end zone and on third down. He's kind of their playmaker that they know that he gets the ball in his hands. So,
and another receiver to look at too that's kind of going under the radar. I'd say this is a deep deep league stash guys, Trent Taylor for the 49ers.
Yes,
That's someone to kind of look at, too, on the opposite side of the ball, as Marquise Goodwin in San Francisco. Blaine Gabbert's not bad. I mean, Trent Taylor had the 92 yards receiving this past week.
And just because
they do play Houston, and Houston is not great against receivers, too, so that's why Goodwin and Taylor could be good stream options this week, too.
I'd rather have Taylor because they're pretty decent against your number one guy. Number two guy usually gets hold of them. But one of my receivers, another one that I like, Travis Benjamin for the Chargers. Ever since Mike Williams has been down with that knee injury, he's been getting more targets, and he's been making something out of it. Benjamin had 4-6 for 68 yards against the Browns, and he's their deep threat guy. And you have Phillip Rivers, who is on fire. So all those kind of point to a good day for me. And they're playing Washington. When you're not playing across from Josh Gordon, Washington is susceptible to big plays in the pass game.
Yeah. Someone else to look at real quick, or I'm going to jump to tight ends now.
Sure.
And this is the most frustrating position, I think, all year.
Easily.
Because of,
Easily.
You either have you have your home run hitters, or you have your guys that are hitting singles. So tight ends to look at: Steven Anderson, who plays for the Texans. You have fill in the void for Fedorowicz. Then you got Trey Burton, someone to watch out for just because of Zach Ertz's concussion issue right now. And I think Trey Burton is someone to look at because he will pick up the slack for that volume. That Rams are pretty good against tight ends, but they'll allow a touchdown here or there.
Yeah.
But that's something I wouldn't really worry about though. Ricky Seals-Jones.
Yeah.
He didn't have the touchdown or anything this past week. He didn't have a great stat game, but he's still getting looked at in that offense. When you watch that game, they're throwing him the ball.
Especially if I think
he's involved.
And it's more important thing if Adrian Peterson plays because that play action gets him wide open.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that actually helps him having Peterson in the backfield.
Yeah, and then one other guy to look at too possibly is Julius Thomas for the Miami Dolphins.
He's getting targets and the touchdowns.
Yeah, he's getting the targets and the touchdowns.
My tight end that I like this week, David Njoku. If you're looking, he plays Green Bay. They're at Green Bay. Last week, Green Bay played at Green Bay against Tampa Bay. And guess what? Cameron Brate had 2 touchdowns and 40 yards, and he was their go-to red zone target. And we couldn't stop him. Njoku had a touchdown last week and 74 yards off 4 catches for the Chargers. And I think that I think it's pretty safe to say he'll have a productive day against Green Bay. And with the way that the bone dry as the tight ends are this year, he's probably at least going to get you a floor of 60 yards.
Right.
And 6 points is more than enough than what you want to see from your tight end probably this year.
Yeah. So our next position I want to move on to real quick is defenses. This is the tough one though too. Do you sit there? This is kind of like a playoff advice type of deal, like based on like how you feel. Do you want to sit there and roll with your defense, or do you want to pick up a streaming defense with a good matchup this week? Let me ask you this. Let's do a little scenario thing.
Sure.
So you got the Eagles defense on your fantasy team.
Playing against the Rams.
Who would you rather have? Who do you feel more comfortable with, though? Eagles against the Rams, Bengals, or the Packers in their matchups?
I'm rolling with the Eagles. Defense has been very good. They're good at pressuring the quarterback and causing turnovers, and I expect the offense to, do a little bit to keep them off the field. Just because I don't like I don't like Corey Coleman, I don't like Njoku and Gordon. And I think the Browns actually have weapons now. It's just up to Kaiser to get it done.
Right.
I don't really like it because we're susceptible to big plays and we can't stop receivers or tight ends for that matter.
Bengals are playing against the Bears this week.
Bengals are playing the Bears this week.
I think that's a better matchup.
I think it's a good matchup. It worries me that Adam Jones left the game with the hand injury after intercepting the pass, and it worries me that Vontaze Burfict, who is their best defensive player, won't play because of neck and probably back issues. Concussed.
And then
he's a tackle machine. He's great in coverage. He's their best blitzing linebacker. He lines people up. He makes the checks to the secondary. It's a big piece. It's a big piece missing in Cincinnati's.
Another question I want to bring up, and that's not for this coming up week in terms of defense. Maybe if you want to pick up a defense to stash just because of matchups for the next couple weeks in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Washington was one that I kind of looked at too as well. I mean, they don't have a good matchup this week. They play at the Chargers this week. I wouldn't play them at all. I wouldn't even touch them. But then week 15 both their games they're at home. They play Arizona, and then week 16 championship week they play Denver. Is Washington a defense that you would trust in to stash and then play for those next 2 weeks?
I like the Denver matchup.
They do play good against in bad matchups too.
Who was the matchup they played before Denver?
Arizona. At home. They're at home. Washington's at home both these games.
Yeah, I like Washington's defense for those 2 matchups.
I mean, it's something, you can consider stashing for as well, too. I mean, they haven't been the best defense all year.
Right.
They weren't great against Dallas at all, but Dallas is a tough defense to play with.
They've had some injuries.
It's like when you have a good matchup, when you have a good matchup, they'll play good.
Yeah.
But they haven't had many good matchups. Like now, okay, here's one though too it was tough though. It's San Francisco week 6, they only put up 5 points. But against the Giants, week 12, they had 18 points, and then you back it up a little bit to week 9. When they went to Seattle, they had 10 points against Seattle.
Yeah.
Which is, something you wouldn't expect. But Chargers, I don't expect them to have a good game against the Chargers defense. The Chargers this week, just because how good Phillip Rivers and that offense has been playing. Arizona and Denver's like a gold mine right there. Week 16, that's a gold mine matchup right there.
Yeah, with Denver playing so bad on offense.
Denver is done. They're ready. They're playing for next year already.
Yeah.
They're playing for a bad draft spot is what they're doing.
I agree.
So,
they have to.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me look at this other defense. There's a couple other ones I wanted to talk about too.
Patriots
this is looking
defense.
ahead too. Chicago plays Cleveland week 16, but kind of brought up, or like how we've already kind of talked. You got Josh Gordon to deal with now.
I kind of want to see what this. I don't know. I feel like the
Bears are ranked 10th too. Their defense is ranked 10th.
I feel like the Browns might make a little turnover. They did lose Floyd, their first round pick from last year. It was a big pass rusher. They've lost a few key players. Their defense has kind of struggled a bit here lately.
But right now in most NFL leagues, the Packers defense has been the most picked up defense this week so far in terms of waivers. Number 2 after that is Buffalo.
I see. Yeah,
I'm not a fan of this one because Buffalo has not been playing good defense the last for like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the last about 5 weeks they have not been playing good football.
Yeah.
They play the Colts this week. They're at home against the Colts, and the Colts do allow the 3rd most points to defenses.
Yeah. And with the Packers game, sometimes real football can positively impact fantasy football. I mean, Green Bay, if you look at it in a way that this is a must-win game for them to stay in the playoff hunt, just because, I'm a big fan, so I follow. But they have to win this game to get into the playoffs to even have a chance of doing anything the rest of the season. It's a must-win game, so I do expect the defense to come out and play hot. I don't like the matchup.
Yeah,
But if I was going to stream any defense that I know is out there, that would probably be the one I would go with.
Yeah, Packers are a great defense just to check, kind of look into.
And as many weapons as they have, they still have Kaiser.
Another one brought up too, though, I think we talked about before we started recording. Cowboys are playing the Giants this week.
Yeah, I like that one just because the Giants have been God. They're the second.
You say they
No,
allow
they're not second. They're a little bit better than that. They're still not a great. You're happy if you're playing against the Giants in fantasy football. And they just had. It's tough to say with the coach being fired too. Sometimes that fires some players up.
They allow 12th most points to defenses.
Yeah.
So but it's still though. You get Eli Manning back. Maybe that offense is going to get rejuvenated a little bit just because all the support for Eli Manning. Because there's supposedly a bunch of people supposed to wear Eli's jersey to the games, fans wise.
And that brings a lot. That gives the spark, the defense a spark. So those kind of things worry me because those are real life events that can trigger a fantasy effect.
Yeah. So briefly touch on other players too. This week, I think we talk about Cameron Brate. He should be out there a lot. He's probably like 50% owned in leagues right now. But the thing to look at though is the Lions. They're getting scored frequently. They get scored on frequently by tight ends. The last 2 weeks they did get scored by Kyle Rudolph a couple weeks ago, and then they got last past week Benjamin Watson scored a touchdown too. So that's something to look at. And Jordan and Jameis Winston does look for Cameron Brate, especially in the red zone.
He loves him, yeah.
And Trey Burton, something to look at too as well. So. Yeah, Thursday Night Football real quick. I'm just going to talk about Thursday Night Football. I expect a heavy run game by the Saints. It's going to be the Kamara and Ingram show for the most part.
It's going to be a good run game from both sides.
Yeah, Trufant makes his return.
Yeah,
as does
Lattimore.
Lattimore too as well. So it's going to be. So we'll see. Like, how does Julio play? I'm going to see how Julio did the last time. I'm curious to see how that
Not good.
happened.
This matchup scares the life out of me, but I can't sit Julio Jones.
No, it's hard, and it's like a guy you can't
don't do
sit.
it.
So let me see. Julio Jones. I got to go down this list. Let me type in Julio because I'm just curious to see how that was.
I didn't do well.
Let's see. Get the exact numbers up here real quick. Wait, they haven't played. This is the first time playing.
Oh, that's why they play again in 2 weeks.
Play. Oh, yeah. So this is basically give you an idea to see. So the Falcons are at home Thursday night. Julio gets matched up against Marshawn Lattimore. Mm-hmm. And then on the other side of the ball, Michael Thomas. I don't know. They move Michael Thomas around a lot too. So we'll see. Like, Trufant usually stays. He's a guy that usually doesn't shadow. He stays on his one side of the field. So we'll see how this could be an offensive showcase. This could be a just a run game pretty much for both sides of the ball. I don't see this as being a big game for the quarterbacks. Just because of how, just because those two corners are coming back for each team.
I think Matt Ryan has probably a better day than Drew Brees, but I don't see neither one of them.
Matt Ryan needs to have a better day.
I don't see neither one of them filling the stat sheets with, yards and touchdowns.
Right.
I was looking the other day, just kind of going over my matchups, and I'm looking at Julio, and I'm like, have the Saints played a Julio Jones this season? Not even close. I mean, the closest receiver that I could get to compare to Julio Jones, who is a top flight receiver, would probably be Tampa Bay.
Mike Evans,
right?
He was going through that stretch with
other than that, it's
Fitzpatrick.
It's Devin Funchess.
Yeah,
they haven't played a big, physical, fast, one of those top just freak athlete receivers.
Yeah.
So
they had Jordy week 2.
Yeah, they had Jordy without Aaron Rodgers with it.
Well, no, week 2 y'all had Aaron Rodgers.
New Orleans?
Oh, I'm talking about with the Falcons.
I'm talking about.
Oh, you're talking about Saints?
Saints, yeah, because they got a matchup with Julio.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they haven't really seen a big receiver. Denver, the Saints did see Green Bay. They seen Jordy, but Jordy's not really the same guy with.
Yeah.
Out Aaron Rodgers. So.
Yeah,
I'm interested. I want to see what Lattimore can do. He's a great rookie. It's a great matchup. I can't wait to watch.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Way.
It's going to be.
Alvin Kamara.
Normally, you would want, like last year, you would have said this would have been a high-scoring game.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't think that's the case this year.
No, I don't either. I think it's going to be kind of a.
I
think it might end up getting up there, but I don't think it's because both quarterbacks lined it up. I think it's actually because the ground game and the defense kind of causes some plays, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, it's just going to be a tricky one. It's just I think we're both stressing because we both have guys in this game. Yeah. You have 2 guys.
This is an important game for my matchup because for my money league, the league that I really care most about, I have Julio Jones going in this game and Alvin Kamara.
Mm-hmm.
My opponent has pretty much the opposite of that with Freeman and
he has
Ingram. Yeah, Mark Ingram and Devontae Freeman. So we both have 2 players going Thursday night, which I don't like.
I have Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas is the only guy I have in this game.
And
so we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah,
I will be watching Thursday Night Football very closely this week.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll have our next episode coming up Friday. Well, it should reach the interwebs on Saturday by the time we finish recording and get everything squared away. So yeah, that one we'll talk about our starts of the week, and we'll look ahead at the matchups as well too.
Right.
And probably hopefully have be less, depending either more stressed or less stressed, depending on the outcome of this Thursday night football game.
So talking about this game, what do you think over who wins?
Saints.
By
10 points.
10-point differential.
Yeah, I just think it's just going to be that much of a difference because of Kamara and Ingram.
I agree. I'm saying Saints. I'm probably say Saints. I might. You know what? I'm gonna say Saints by. I'm just gonna agree. I'm gonna agree because I think my heart's telling me the same thing you said. I agree.
Yeah. It's like I can't bet against the Rams either. So I got that one right. So I can toot my own horn with the game last week.
Yeah.
Or 2 weeks ago. Well, so I'm gonna pick I'll jump ahead. We'll talk more in depth about the next games because I'm already looking forward to this.
Yeah,
this is the game I've been looking forward to all season because
and for fantasy reasons,
it's Goff versus Wentz, and I've been waiting for this game all season long. Week 14 is here, folks. Fantasy playoffs are here. Get stressed.
Get excited.
Unstressed, get excited.
Love it.
But don't stress yourself out too bad. But
no, enjoy
but also
it.
know that. But also know that it's if you lose, you're done, and then it doesn't matter. And this whole season was a loss. And I'm still trying to figure out an exact bet for my Week 1 matchup against my arch nemesis Derek Dinkoff, the man of many fantasy team names this year. I did like my proposal, but I mean, it probably won't happen. I give him my winnings from the regular season, and then I pick it if he beats me, and if I beat him, I get to pick his first round pick next year.
Yeah. All he said was, "That's crazy."
Yeah,
so
he's like, "That's messed up."
Don't think
y'all try to throw in and shave our heads, but I shaved my head earlier this year already. I was bald earlier this year when I went to WrestleMania. I was rocking bald and had a beard. That's it.
I feel that.
It was hot in Florida. All right, so we'll be back this Friday, which you won't hear it until Saturday. For those of you that do listen or come across our stuff and listen to maybe the first couple of minutes of it.
Yep.
Thanks for listening. If you do, this is the Fantasy Football Wrap Up. I'm Blake Randall with Jesse Geary, and that is a wrap.
That's it. Wrap it up.